Alright, let's start with the basics and explain everything step by step as simply as possible. Foreign invasions in Northwest India, Indo-Greeks. Step 1. Where is Northwest India? Northwest India is the part of India close to modern-day Pakistan and Afghanistan. This area has been very important in history because many people from outside India entered through this region. Step 2. Who were the Indo-Greeks? A long time ago, around 200 BCE, which is more than 2,200 years ago, there was a group of people called Greeks. These Greeks were originally from a place called Greece, which is in Europe. Some Greeks travelled to Bactria. This was an area in modern Afghanistan near a river called the Oxus. These Greeks who lived in Bactria are called Bactrian Greeks. Step 3. Why did they come to India? The Bactrian Greeks wanted more land, wealth and power. They crossed a big mountain range called the Hindu Kush Mountains. These mountains are very tall and separate Afghanistan from India. When they came into northwest India, they began to rule over this region. Step 4. What does Indo-Greeks mean? Once these Greeks started living in India, they were called Indo-Greeks. Indo means India, and Greeks refers to their Greek origin. The name shows that they were Greeks who settled in India and ruled parts of it. Step 5. What was their rule like? The Indo-Greeks ruled northwest India for about 100 years. They brought Greek culture, ideas and art with them. For example, they introduced coins with their kings' faces and Greek writing. They built cities and followed some Greek traditions, but they also started adopting Indian culture. Example to understand. Imagine a person from another country moves to your city. They bring their own language, food and traditions, but over time they start eating local food and speaking the local language. This mix of cultures is what happened with the Indo-Greeks in northwest India. Step 6. More about Indo-Greek culture. The most famous Indo-Greek king was Menander, known in India as Milinda. Menander became very popular because he adopted Indian ideas, especially Buddhism. There is a famous book called Milinda Panha, Questions of Milinda, which shows a conversation between King Menander and a Buddhist monk. Why is this important in history? The Indo-Greeks brought a mix of Greek and Indian culture, which is unique. Their coins and art influenced Indian culture for centuries. They were among the first foreigners to adopt Indian ideas, such as Buddhism. Fun fact! The Indo-Greeks' coins were so well made that Indian kings later copied their designs. Simplified recap. 1. The Indo-Greeks were Greeks from Bactria who entered northwest India around 200 BCE. 2. They crossed the Hindu Kush Mountains to expand their rule. 3. They mixed Greek and Indian cultures, introducing new art, coins and ideas. 4. King Menander, an Indo-Greek, even adopted Buddhism and became very famous. I hope this explanation makes everything clear. Do you have any questions? Let's break this down further, step by step, in the simplest and clearest way possible. The fall of the Achaemenid Empire and the arrival of the Indo-Greeks. Step 1. What is the Achaemenid Empire? A long time ago there was a powerful empire called the Achaemenid Empire. It was based in Iran and controlled a large area, including parts of the Middle East and Central Asia. The Achaemenid kings were very strong and ruled for hundreds of years. Step 2. What happened to the Achaemenid Empire? A king from Greece named Alexander the Great conquered the Achaemenid Empire around 330 BCE. He became the new ruler of Iran and many nearby lands. But Alexander died suddenly in 323 BCE, and his huge empire broke into smaller parts. Step 3. Who controlled Iran after Alexander? After Alexander's death, his generals fought among themselves to control his empire. One general, Seleucus, took control of Iran and nearby areas. He started a new kingdom called the Seleucid Empire. At the same time, another part of Alexander's empire, Bactria near Afghanistan, became a kingdom ruled by Greek kings. Step 4. What was Bactria? Bactria was a region south of the Oxus River, modern-day northern Afghanistan. The Greek rulers of Bactria were originally under the Seleucid Empire. Over time, these Bactrian Greeks became independent and started ruling on their own. Step 5. Why did the Bactrian Greeks move to India? Around this time, a group of tribes called the Scythians began attacking the Bactrian Greeks. The Scythians were strong warriors who lived in Central Asia. Their attacks forced the Greek rulers of Bactria to move east for safety. They crossed the Hindu Kush mountains and entered northwest India. Step 6. What was happening in India at this time? In India, the Mauryan Empire was the largest kingdom during this period. Its most famous king, Ashoka, had spread Buddhism and ruled almost all of India. But after Ashoka's death, the Mauryan Empire became weak. The kings who came after Ashoka were not strong, and the empire began to break apart. Step 7. What did the Bactrian Greeks do in India? Taking advantage of the weakness of the Mauryan Empire, the Bactrian Greeks entered northwest India. They started ruling parts of this region and became known as the Indo-Greeks. A simple example to understand. Imagine there's a big house, a Achaemenid Empire. 1. A new person, Alexander, comes and takes over the house. 2. But Alexander dies suddenly, and his assistants, his generals, divide the house into smaller rooms. One assistant, Seleucus, gets the biggest room, Iran. Another assistant, Bactrian Greeks, gets a smaller room, Bactria. 3. The Bactrian Greeks are happy in their room, but some bullies, Scythians, force them out. 4. They move to a neighbour's yard, India, where the owners, Mauryans, are weak and can't stop them. 5. The Greeks settle in the new yard and start running it in their own way. Key takeaways. 1. The Achaemenid Empire in Iran fell when Alexander the Great conquered it. 2. After Alexander's death, his generals divided his empire into smaller kingdoms. 3. The Seleucids ruled Iran, while the Bactrian Greeks ruled Bactria. 4. The Scythians attacked the Bactrian Greeks, forcing them to move east into India. 5. The weak Mauryan rulers in India couldn't stop these invasions, so the Greeks became rulers in northwest India. 6. These Greek rulers were called the Indo-Greeks, and they brought their own culture and ideas to India. Why is this important? This marked one of the first major cultural mixes between Indian and Greek civilizations. The Indo-Greeks introduced Greek-style coins, art, and governance to India. King Menander, a famous Indo-Greek ruler, even adopted Buddhism, showing how the two cultures influenced each other. If there's anything else you'd like explained, let me know. I can make it even simpler or add more details. Let's include the Arsacid rulers of Parthia in the explanation and simplify everything step by step. The fall of Achaemenids and the role of the Arsacids. Step 1. The Achaemenid Empire. A long time ago, there was a very powerful kingdom called the Achaemenid Empire in Iran. This empire ruled over a huge area, including parts of the Middle East, Central Asia, and even northwest India. Step 2. Alexander the Great. Around 330 BCE, a famous king named Alexander the Great from Macedonia, near Greece, defeated the Achaemenid Empire. He became the ruler of Iran and other areas. But Alexander died suddenly in 323 BCE, and his large empire broke into smaller parts. Step 3. What happened after Alexander's death? Alexander's generals divided his empire into different kingdoms. 1. Seleucid Empire. Controlled most of Iran and nearby areas. 2. Bactria, a smaller kingdom in northern Afghanistan, ruled by Greek kings. Over time, these kingdoms started losing power and control over their regions. Step 4. Who were the Arsacid rulers of Parthia? Parthia was a region in northeastern Iran, which was part of the Seleucid Empire. Around 250 BCE, a new group called the Arsacids came to power in Parthia. The Arsacids fought against the Seleucids and became independent. The Arsacid rulers of Parthia started their own kingdom, which later became the famous Parthian Empire. Step 5. The Arsacids and the Greeks. Both the Arsacids, Parthians, and the Greek rulers of Bactria wanted to expand their power. The Arsacids became stronger over time, while the Greek rulers of Bactria faced threats from two sides. 1. The Arsacids of Parthia, who wanted more land. 2. The Scythian tribes, who attacked from the north. Because of these threats, the Bactrian Greeks were pushed out of their land and started moving toward India. Step 6. Why did the Greeks come to India? At this time, India's Mauryan Empire was becoming weak. After the death of Ashoka, the Mauryan rulers couldn't protect their empire. The Greek rulers of Bactria saw this weakness as an opportunity and moved into northwest India. These Greek rulers who settled in India were called the Indo-Greeks. Simplified example to include the Arsacids. 1. Imagine Alexander's empire as a big cake. His generals cut the cake into pieces. Seleucid Empire, Bactria, etc. But some new people, like the Arsacids, Parthians, come and take a piece of the cake, Parthia. But 2. The Bactrian Greeks have their piece of the cake, but they're attacked by 2 groups. The Arsacids from the west, who want more cake. The Scythians from the north, who are like raiders stealing everything. 3. The Bactrian Greeks, feeling unsafe, leave their cake and go to a neighbour's house, India, where the owners, Mauryans, are too weak to stop them. Key points about the Arsacids. 1. The Arsacids ruled Parthia, which was part of Iran. 2. They became independent by fighting the Seleucid Empire. 3. They were one of the groups that put pressure on the Bactrian Greeks, forcing them to move toward India. 4. Their empire eventually became the Parthian Empire, a major power in ancient Iran. Why this is important? The Arsacids and the Greeks played a big role in the history of Iran, Central Asia, and India. Their conflicts and migrations led to cultural exchanges, especially when the Indo-Greeks brought Greek ideas, coins, and art to India. If there's anything else to clarify or add, feel free to ask. Let's go step by step in detail in the simplest way possible. Who are the Indo-Greeks? 1. What is their story? The Indo-Greeks were Greek rulers who came to India and ruled parts of the northwest. Their history has been discovered mainly through their coins. 2. What's special about the coins? These coins were like messages from the past. They had writings called legends in Greek, Kharosthi, and Brahmi scripts. By studying these coins, historians have found out the names of around 30 Indo-Greek kings. Important Indo-Greek rulers. 1. Demetrius. Who was he? Demetrius was likely the first Indo-Greek king. What did he do? He conquered many places, including Afghanistan, Punjab, Sindh. This made him one of the most powerful foreign kings to rule northwest India. 2. Menander. Who was he? Menander was one of the most famous Indo-Greek kings, ruling around 165 to 145 BCE. He is also called Milinda in Indian texts. What did he rule? His kingdom stretched from Swat Valley in modern Pakistan, Punjab up to the Ravi River. His capital was Sakala in modern-day Pakistan. Menander's ambition. 1. What did he want? Menander wanted to expand his kingdom into central India. He tried to capture Pataliputra, a very famous and powerful city. Top 2. Who stopped him? Menander was stopped by Vasamitra, the grandson of Pushyamitra Sunga. Vasamitra and his army fought Menander and successfully defended Pataliputra. The coins of Indo-Greeks. 1. Why are the coins important? The coins tell us the names of the kings, the areas they ruled, the languages and scripts they used. Part 2. What was special about the design? Many coins had Greek gods on one side and Indian symbols on the other. For example, the Dharma Chakra, Wheel of Dharma. This shows how Greek and Indian cultures mixed during their rule. Menander and Buddhism. 1. Did Menander like Indian culture? Yes, Menander was very impressed by Buddhism. He had long discussions with a Buddhist monk named Nagasena. These discussions are recorded in a book called the Milindapanna, Questions of Milinda. Did Menander become Buddhist? Yes, Menander later became a Buddhist himself. This shows how much Indian culture influenced him. Simplified example. 1. Imagine a detective finding ancient coins. On one side, the coins have Greek letters and pictures of Greek gods. On the other side, they have Indian symbols and scripts. The coins tell us about kings like Demetrius and Menander, their names and their achievements. 2. Demetrius was the first Greek king to rule northwest India. He took control of Afghanistan, Punjab, and Sindh. 3. Menander was an ambitious king. He ruled from Swat Valley to Punjab. He tried to conquer Pataliputra but was stopped by Vasamitra. 4. Menander loved learning and became a Buddhist, showing how Indian culture changed him. Why is this important? 1. Cultural exchange. The Indo-Greeks mixed Greek and Indian cultures. Their coins, art and ideas show this blend. 2. Buddhism. Kings like Menander helped spread Buddhism. This had a big impact on India and neighbouring countries. If you'd like to go even deeper into any part, just ask. I'm here to explain. Let's break everything into the simplest steps possible. I'll make it as clear and detailed as I can. 1. Menander and his interest in Buddhism. Who was Menander? Menander, also called Milinda, was a famous Indo-Greek king who ruled parts of India and Pakistan. What was his connection with Buddhism? He was very curious about Buddhism. He had long conversations with a Buddhist monk named Nagasena. These conversations were written down in a book called Milindapanho, which means Questions of Melinda. Menander liked Buddhism so much that he eventually became a Buddhist. Example: imagine a king who wants to learn about a new religion, asks many questions and ends up following it. That was Menander. Menander's coins. Where were his coins found? Coins from Menander's time were discovered in places as far apart as Kabul in modern Afghanistan, Mathura, near Delhi in India. This shows that his rule and influence were spread over a large area. Example, his coins were like a stamp or ID card that showed his power and how far his kingdom stretched. 3. The last Indo-Greek ruler. Who was the last Indo-Greek king? His name was Hemius. What happened to him? He had to fight against new invaders. The Sarkas, a group from Central Asia, the Parthians from Iran, the Yuechi, a nomadic tribe who later became the Kushans. These groups eventually defeated the Indo-Greeks and ended their rule. Example, imagine a king defending his land from 3 strong armies. Despite his efforts, his kingdom was taken over. 4. Contributions of the Indo-Greeks. Gold coins. What's special about Indo-Greek coins? They were the first to make gold coins in India. Later, other rulers like the Kushans made even more gold coins. Why was this important? Gold coins were valuable and showed how rich and advanced the rulers were. They were also used for trade, making it easier to buy and sell goods. Example, think of coins as a modern currency that helped the economy grow. 2. Wide trade contacts. What does coin circulation tell us? The Indo-Greek coins were found in many places, showing they traded with distant regions. This means they had strong trade connections with other parts of India and Central Asia. Example, imagine merchants using these coins to trade silk, spices, or metals between countries. 3. Military governorship. What is this? The Greeks introduced the idea of military governors in India. These were soldiers who acted like local rulers in different regions. Their job was to maintain law and order and protect the area. Example, think of them as local officers who kept the peace but were part of the king's army. Why are the Indo-Greeks important? 1. Blending of cultures. The Indo-Greeks mixed Indian and Greek ideas. For example, their coins had Greek gods on one side and Indian symbols like the Dharma chakra on the other. Menander adopting Buddhism shows how Greek rulers respected Indian traditions. 2. Economic growth. Their coins helped improve trade. Gold coins showed how wealthy and advanced their economy was. 3. Political ideas. They brought new systems like military governorship, which later influenced Indian rulers. Simplified example to imagine. 1. Coins everywhere. Imagine a coin from Menander's kingdom being used to buy goods in Kabul, then travelling all the way to Mathura. 2. Cultural exchange. A Greek king sitting in India learning about Buddhism and printing coins with both Greek and Indian symbols. 3. End of Indo-Greeks. Ahmeus, the last ruler trying to save his kingdom from powerful invaders, Sarkas, Parthians, Yuechi, but failing. In summary, Menander loved Buddhism and became a Buddhist after speaking with Nagasena. His coins were found in faraway places, showing his large empire. Hemius, the last Indo-Greek king, lost to invaders. Indo-Greeks gave India gold coins, strong trade, and the idea of military governors. They blended Greek and Indian cultures in a way that changed history. If you'd like more details or have questions, feel free to ask. Let's break this down into the simplest possible explanation and go step by step to understand the Sanga dynasty, 185 to 73 BCE. Imagine we are telling a story to a curious child. 1. Who were the Sangas? The Sangas were a family of rulers who came after the Maurya dynasty. They ruled Magadha in present-day Bihar and nearby areas. Where did they come from? The Sangas were a Brahmana, priestly class family. They originally came from a place called Ujjain in western India. They worked as officials under the Mauryan Empire. Example: imagine a family working for the king. One day they take over and become the rulers themselves. This is how the Sangas started. 2. Founder of the Sanga dynasty. The first king of the Sanga dynasty was Pushyamitra Sanga. He was a commander-in-chief, head of the army for the Mauryas. What happened? Pushyamitra killed the last Mauryan king, Brihadratha, in 185 BCE. After killing him, he declared himself the new king and started the Sanga dynasty. Where was the capital? Pushyamitra made Vidisha, in present-day Madhya Pradesh, his capital. Example: think of Pushyamitra as a general in the army who decides to take over the kingdom by removing the weak king. 3. The Greeks and the Sangas. During the rule of Pushyamitra, the Greeks, Indo-Greeks, invaded India. They even managed to reach Pataliputra, the old capital of the Mauryas, modern-day Patna. What happened next? Pushyamitra fought back and won the territory. He pushed the Greeks out of the area and saved his kingdom. Why is this important? It showed that Pushyamitra was a strong ruler who could defend his land from invaders. Example: imagine someone breaking into your house, but you fight them and make them leave. This is what Pushyamitra did with the Greeks. 4. Importance of the Sanga dynasty. The Sanga dynasty played a big role in protecting India from foreign invasions. They also preserved Indian culture during a time of change. Why did Pushyamitra kill Brihadratha? The Mauryan Empire was very weak after the death of Emperor Ashoka. The last Mauryan king, Brihadratha, was not a strong ruler. Pushyamitra probably thought he could rule better and protect the kingdom from invaders. Example: if a captain of a ship isn't doing a good job and the ship is sinking, someone might take over to save it. This is what Pushyamitra did. What was the Sanga dynasty like? The Sangas ruled for about 112 years, from 185 BCE to 73 BCE. They helped protect Hindu culture during their time. Pushyamitra is also said to have performed the Ashvamedha Yajna, a horse sacrifice ritual, to show his power as a king. Key points to remember. 1. Who started the Sanga dynasty? Pushyamitra Sanga, a general, killed the last Mauryan king and became the ruler in 185 BCE. 2. Where was the capital? The capital was Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. 3. What did Pushyamitra do? He defended his kingdom from Greek invaders who reached Pataliputra. He regained the lost land. 4. How long did the Sangas rule? For about 112 years, from 185 BCE to 73 BCE. Simple example to remember. Imagine a strong soldier named Pushyamitra working for a weak king. One day he decides to take charge and becomes the king himself. Pushyamitra fights off invaders, the Greeks, and protects the kingdom. He rules with strength and keeps the culture alive. If you have more questions, feel free to ask. I'll make it even simpler if needed. Let's break this down into very simple steps and explain it clearly for easy understanding. And 1. Pushyamitra's campaign against Kharavela. Who was Kharavela? Kharavela was a powerful king of Kalinga, modern Odisha. He wanted to expand his kingdom and even invaded North India. What did Pushyamitra do? Pushyamitra fought back against Kharavela to stop him from taking over North India. Example: imagine a ruler from one region, Kharavela from Kalinga, trying to take land from another ruler, Pushyamitra, in North India. Pushyamitra defended his territory. 2. Pushyamitra's religious beliefs. Pushyamitra was a staunch follower of Brahmanism, an early form of Hinduism. He strongly supported Brahmanical rituals and traditions. To show his royal power, he performed 2 Ashvamedha sacrifices. What is an Ashvamedha sacrifice? A king would let a horse roam free. If no one stopped the horse, it meant that king was very powerful. Pushyamitra's 2 Ashvamedha sacrifices were like public announcements of his strength. 3. Was Pushyamitra against Buddhism? Buddhist sources, like the Divyavadana, an ancient Buddhist text, say that Pushyamitra destroyed Buddhist monasteries and temples built by Ashoka. They describe him as a destroyer of Buddhism. But what does other evidence say? During Pushyamitra's time, Buddhist monuments at Bharhut and Sanchi were improved and renovated. This shows that he may not have been completely against Buddhism. Example, imagine some people accusing someone of being against a religion, but evidence shows that they also supported its art or monuments. 4. Pushyamitra's death. Pushyamitra ruled for about 36 years and died in 149 BCE. After his death, his son Agnimitra became the next king. And 5. Agnimitra's rule. Who was Agnimitra? Agnimitra was Pushyamitra's son. He had been governing the southern provinces while his father was alive. How long did Agnimitra rule? Agnimitra ruled for about 8 years after his father's death. 6. Agnimitra in literature. Agnimitra is famous because he is the hero of a Sanskrit play written by Kalidasa. The play is called Malavik Agnimitra, and it tells a story about love and politics during Agnimitra's time. Example, imagine a movie where a historical king is the main character. That's what Kalidasa's play does for Agnimitra. Extra details for better understanding. 1. Bharhut and Sanchi. These are 2 famous places where Buddhist stupas, monuments, were built. Even though Pushyamitra supported Brahmanism, the stupas here were renovated during his time. Number 2. Ashvamedha rituals in history. This ritual was a symbol of power and dominance. Only very strong kings performed it. 3. Karavela's role. Karavela's invasion shows how different kings tried to expand their kingdoms during this time. Key points to remember. 1. Pushyamitra fought invasions. He defended North India from Karavela of Kalinga. 2. Ashvamedha rituals. Pushyamitra performed 2 horse sacrifices to show his power. 3. Mixed legacy with Buddhism. Some Buddhist texts say he destroyed monasteries, but monuments like Sanchi and Bharhut were improved during his reign. 4. Agnimitra. Pushyamitra's son ruled for 8 years and is the hero of the famous play Malavik Agnimitra by Kalidasa. This is a detailed, simple explanation. Let me know if you'd like to dive deeper into any part. Let's learn about the Sangas, one of India's ancient dynasties, in the simplest and easiest way possible.
Who were the Sangas?
Sangas were kings who ruled after the Mauryan Empire ended. The first Sanga king was Pushyamitra Sanga, who took power from the last Mauryan ruler, Brihadratha. Pushyamitra started the Sanga dynasty, which ruled parts of north and central India. Successors of Agnimitra Sanga 1. Agnimitra was a famous Sanga king after Pushyamitra. 2. Vasumitra, his son, became king after him, but we don't know much about him. 3. Later, a king named Bhagabhadra became important. Bhagabhadra had a Greek ambassador named Heliodorus visit his court. Heliodorus was sent by Antiochus, a Greek king. This shows that Sangas were powerful and respected by foreign kings. End of the Sanga dynasty. Over time, the Sanga kingdom became smaller. It was mostly limited to Magadha, modern Bihar, and central India. The last Sanga king was Devabhuti. He was murdered by his minister, Vasudeva Kanva, who then started the Kanva dynasty. Importance of the Sanga dynasty. 1. Defense against foreign invaders. The Sangas stopped invasions from the Bactrian Greeks, foreign rulers from Central Asia. Pushyamitra Sanga worked hard to protect India's Gangetic plains, a rich and important area. 2. Revival of Brahmanism. Brahmanism, ancient Hindu traditions, became stronger under the Sangas. They performed horse sacrifices, Ashvamedha, a religious ritual to show power. The Sanghas also supported Vaishnavism, worship of Lord Vishnu. 3. Promotion of culture. They helped the Sanskrit language grow. Their rule set the stage for the golden age of the Guptas, which came later and made Indian culture even more famous. Easy examples to understand the Sanghas. 1. Pushyamitra's role. Imagine a kingdom attacked by outsiders, the Bactrian Greeks. Pushyamitra Sangha acted like a warrior king, saving the land. 2. Religious revival. Before the Sanghas, Buddhism was very popular. The Sanghas brought back Hindu traditions, like worshipping Vishnu and performing big rituals. 3. Bhagabhadra and Heliodorus. Think of Bhagabhadra as a respected king. Heliodorus, a Greek ambassador, coming to his court is like a modern president sending an ambassador to another country. Fun facts about the Sanghas. 1. The Heliodorus pillar. Heliodorus built a pillar in India, near Vidisha, Madhya Pradesh, as a tribute to Vishnu. This shows how Hindu culture even influenced the Greeks. 2. Cultural foundations. Though small, the Sangha kingdom preserved Indian culture and traditions, which became stronger during the Gupta Empire later. Final thoughts. The Sangha dynasty saved India from foreign invaders, brought back ancient Hindu traditions and culture, laid the foundation for future greatness like the Gupta Empire. Although their rule was not as famous as the Mauryans or Guptas, they played an important role in preserving India's traditions during a difficult time. Let's learn about the Kanva dynasty in the easiest and most simple way. Who were the Kanvas? The Kanva dynasty was a royal family that ruled after the Sangha dynasty ended. The dynasty started with Vasudeva Kanva. He was not a king originally. Vasudeva was a minister under the last Sangha king, Devabhuti. He killed Devabhuti and took over the throne. How long did the Kanvas rule? The Kanva dynasty lasted about 45 years, from 73 BCE to 28 BCE. During this time, only 4 kings ruled. 1. Vasudeva Kanva, the founder. 2. Bhumimitra, his son or successor. 3. Narayana. 4. Susharman, the last king. End of the Kanva dynasty. The Satavahanas, a powerful dynasty from South India, defeated the Kanvas. This brought the Kanva dynasty to an end. Why is the Kanva dynasty important? 1. Small but significant. Even though they ruled for a short time, the Kanvas kept the Magadha region, modern Bihar, stable after the Sangha dynasty collapsed. 2. Cultural continuity. Like the Sanghas, they helped continue the cultural and religious traditions of Hinduism and Sanskrit literature. Examples to understand. 1. Think of the Kanva dynasty like a caretaker. Imagine a house where one family, the Sanghas, is no longer in control. The Kanvas stepped in to manage the house for some time before another family, the Satavahanas, took over. 2. A minister becoming king. Vasudeva Kanva, taking power from Devabhuti, is like a manager of a company becoming the owner after the CEO steps down. Fun fact. The Kanva dynasty's story shows how small dynasties could rise and fall quickly in ancient India. Even though they ruled for a short time, they helped keep order in the region during a time of change. Final thoughts. The Kanva dynasty, ruled for a short time, 45 years, was started by Vasudeva Kanva, who took power from the last Sangha king, ended when the Satavahanas defeated them. Even though their rule was brief, the Kanvas played a role in keeping the region stable and continuing India's cultural traditions. Let's learn about the Kanva dynasty in the easiest and most simple way. Who were the Kanvas? The Kanva dynasty was a royal family that ruled after the Sangha dynasty ended. The dynasty started with Vasudeva Kanva. He was not a king originally. Vasudeva was a minister under the last Sangha king, Devabhuti. He killed Devabhuti and took over the throne. How long did the Kanvas rule? The Kanva dynasty lasted about 45 years, from 73 BCE to 28 BCE. During this time, only 4 kings ruled. 1. Vasudeva Kanva, the founder. 2. Bhumimitra, his son or successor. 3. Narayana. 4. Susharman, the last king. End of the Kanva dynasty. The Satavahanas, a powerful dynasty from South India, defeated the Kanvas. This brought the Kanva dynasty to an end. Why is the Kanva dynasty important? 1. Small but significant. Even though they ruled for a short time, the Kanvas kept the Magadha region, modern Bihar, stable after the Sanga dynasty collapsed. 2. Cultural continuity. Like the Sangas, they helped continue the cultural and religious traditions of Hinduism and Sanskrit literature. Examples to understand. 1. Think of the Kanva dynasty like a caretaker. Imagine a house where one family, the Sangas, is no longer in control. The Kanvas stepped in to manage the house for some time before another family, the Satavahanas, took over. 2. A minister becoming king. Vasudeva Kanva, taking power from Devabhuti, is like a manager of a company becoming the owner after the CEO steps down. Fun fact. The Kanva dynasty's story shows how small dynasties could rise and fall quickly in ancient India. Even though they ruled for a short time, they helped keep order in the region during a time of change. Final thoughts. The Kanva dynasty ruled for a short time, 45 years, was started by Vasudeva Kanva, who took power from the last Sanga king, ended when the Satavahanas defeated them. Even though their rule was brief, the Kanvas played a role in keeping the region stable and continuing India's cultural traditions. Certainly, here's the content copied as it is. 1. How do we know about the Scythoparthians and Moga? In ancient times, kings left behind things like inscriptions and coins. These are like little messages or records from the past. Inscriptions. These are words carved on stones or metal. Imagine it like carving your name on a rock, but with important details like the king's name or his achievements. Coins. These were small pieces of metal used for buying and selling, but they also had pictures and names to tell people about the ruler. From these sources, we know about Moga, a powerful Shaka king. 2. Who was Moga? Moga, also called Mawis, was a king from the Shaka tribe. The Shakas were a group of people who came to India from Central Asia. Think of them as travelers or invaders who settled and ruled in new lands. He ruled over a place called Gandhara, which is in modern-day Pakistan. Gandhara was very important for trade and culture. Imagine it like a busy market or a famous cultural city. How do we know about him? There is an inscription found in a city called Taxila, which talks about Moga. Taxila was a super important city in ancient India. It was like a mix of a university, a cultural center, and a trade hub. The inscription also mentions his governor, named Patika. A governor is like the manager of a part of the king's kingdom. 3. What do Moga's coins tell us? Moga made coins from copper and silver. These coins are like ancient money, but also a way to show off the king's power and religion. What did his coins look like? On one side, there was a picture of Zeus, a Greek god. Zeus was shown holding a scepter, a long stick that shows power. On Zeus's hand, there was Nike, the goddess of victory. She was like a symbol of winning. By using these symbols, Moga wanted to show that he was a strong and victorious king. Why were Greek gods on his coins? The Greeks had ruled this area before Moga. Many people still liked Greek culture, so Moga used these gods to connect with them. It was a smart move to keep people happy and show that he respected their traditions. 4. What did Moga achieve? Conquest of Gandhara. Moga probably defeated the Indo-Greeks, Greek rulers in India, to take over Gandhara. Gandhara was a rich and important area, so this was a big win for Moga. Conflict with the Indo-Greeks. After Moga conquered Gandhara, the Indo-Greeks fought back and took back some of their land. This shows that there was constant fighting for control in this region. 5. Why is Moga important? Moga was not just a king. His rule was significant for several reasons. Blending of cultures. Moga's time was like a melting pot. Greek, Indian, and Central Asian cultures mixed together. Example, his coins had Greek gods, but he ruled in India and supported local traditions too. Trade and wealth. Gandhara was located on major trade routes. Think of it like a road connecting different countries where goods like silk, spices, and gold were exchanged. Moga controlled this trade, which made his kingdom rich.
First Shaka king in India.
Moga was one of the first Shaka rulers to settle and rule in India. This shows how the Shakas became important players in Indian history. 6. Fun example to understand Moga's story. Imagine you're playing a game where you build and take over cities. The Indo-Greeks owned a city called Gandhara. Moga, a Shaka king, came in and captured it, showing he was stronger. Later, the Indo-Greeks fought back and regained part of the city. This back and forth fighting for land happened in real life between kings like Moga and the Indo-Greeks. 7. Taxila and its importance. Taxila, where Moga's inscription was found, was an amazing city in ancient times. It was like a university where people came to study. It was also a big market where traders from different countries came to exchange goods.
Final thoughts. Moga Mawis
Was a Shaka king who ruled Gandhara. We know about him through inscriptions and coins. He was a smart and powerful ruler who used Greek symbols to connect with people. His rule showed how different cultures mixed in ancient India. This period teaches us how rulers like Moga adapted to new lands and created a unique blend of cultures. Sure, let's make this even simpler, step by step, line by line. Imagine we're uncovering their story like detectives. How do we know about the Scythoparthian kings? In ancient times, kings left behind coins. These coins were like ancient money, but also carried pictures and names of rulers. Historians use these coins to learn about the kings who ruled long ago. 2. Who were these Scythoparthian kings? The Scythoparthians were kings from Central Asia who came to rule in parts of India and nearby areas. Some of their names are Vonones, Spalirices, Azes, Azalices, Azes. 2. 3. What is conjoint rule? Sometimes two kings rule together instead of just one king being in charge. This is called conjoint rule. Example 1. Spalirices started as a junior ruler, like a helper or assistant under Vonones. Later, Spalirices became a king by himself. Example 2. Azes and Azalices ruled together for some time. This system of ruling together helped them manage their kingdoms better. Number 4. What is the Vikrama era and why is it important? The Vikrama era is a calendar system that started in 58-57 BCE. It is still used in India today. At first, people thought this era started when Vonones became king. But now, historians believe it began when Azes Art became king. The Vikrama era shows how these ancient kings influenced Indian traditions and their impact is still felt today. 5. Who were the Mallavas and what did they do? The Mallavas were a group of people who lived in the Punjab region during the time of the Scythoparthian kings. Later, the Mallavas moved to Rajasthan and nearby areas. They took the Vikrama era calendar with them when they migrated. That's why the Vikrama era became popular in India, especially in Rajasthan. 6. Where did these kings rule? Each king controlled different areas and their kingdom grew over time. Vonones and Spalirices, they ruled parts of Afghanistan, which is northwest of India. Azes, he moved further into northwest India, which includes modern-day Pakistan and nearby areas. Azalices, he went even further east and ruled in Mathura, modern-day Uttar Pradesh, India. 7. Example to understand their expansion. Let's imagine this as a story of rulers expanding their kingdom, step by step. First, Vonones and Spalirices ruled in Afghanistan. Then, Azes took over parts of northwest India. Finally, Azalices extended the kingdom into Mathura. It's like a relay race where each king takes the kingdom further east. 8. Why are these kings important? These kings were important because, 1. Mixing of cultures. They brought ideas from Central Asia, India and Greece together. Example, their coins had Greek-style designs, but they ruled Indian territories. 2. Trade and economy. They controlled important trade routes where merchants carried goods like silk, spices and jewelry. This made their kingdom rich and powerful. 3. Influence on Indian traditions. They introduced the Vikrama era, which is still used in Indian calendars today. 9. Fun way to understand this story. Imagine a group of kings playing a game of who can rule the most land. Vonones and Spalirices start the game in Afghanistan. Azes expands the territory into northwest India. Azilises wins the game by pushing further east into Mathura. Each king helped the kingdom grow step by step.
Nash, final thoughts.
The Scytho-Parthian kings were rulers who came from Central Asia and expanded into India. They ruled together at times, conjoint rule, and introduced the Vikrama era, which is still part of Indian culture. Their coins and actions tell us about the mixing of Central Asian, Indian, and Greek traditions. Their story shows how rulers shaped history by expanding their kingdoms and blending cultures. Let me know if you'd like even more examples or details. Let's go deeper and make it even simpler. Step by step, here's everything about Gondophares, his family, and his role in history. 1. Who was Gondophares? Gondophares was a king who ruled a region known as the Indo-Parthian kingdom. He might have been from the Shuran family, a very important family in Parthian Iran. What made the Shuran family special? They had two big responsibilities in the Parthian Empire. 1, leading the army. They were like top generals. 2, crowning new kings during the coronation, like priests who performed the rituals. 2, what was happening in Gondophares' region? Long before Gondophares, in 129 BCE, eastern parts of the Parthian Empire faced big invasions. These invasions were led by nomads, people who travel and don't settle in one place. 1, Saka, also called Indo-Scythians, nomads from Central Asia. 2, Yuichi, another powerful nomadic tribe from Central Asia. What did these nomads do? They attacked the region known as Drangiana, modern-day southeastern Iran and nearby areas. Over time, this region known as Rakistan became known as Sakistan, or Land of the Saka. Example, it's like saying Land of the Cowboys if cowboys took over a place. How did the Parthian Empire fight back? A strong Parthian king, Mithridates II, ruled 124 to 88 BCE, stopped the Saka invasions. He made Sakistan part of his empire again by defeating the invaders. To control this area, he appointed local governors called satraps. Satraps were like managers who ran parts of the empire for the king. One such satrap might have been a man named Tanlis Mardates. The role of the Shuran family in Sakistan. The Shuran family may have been given control of Sakistan by the Parthian kings. Why? To protect the region from more nomadic attacks. What did the Shurans do? The Shurans not only defended Sakistan, but also started expanding their power. 1. They defeated the Saka Indo-Scythians. 2. They took over new areas like Arachosia, modern-day southern Afghanistan, Punjab, parts of northern India and Pakistan. And 5. How did the Indo-Parthian kingdom start? By 19 CE, the Shurans became so powerful that they started their own kingdom called the Indo-Parthian kingdom. Gondophares became one of the most famous kings of this kingdom. What was special about Gondophares? He ruled during the mid-1st century CE. Gondophares' kingdom was known for blending Iranian and Indian cultures. Example, it's like a country today that mixes two different cultures to create something new. Number 6. What happened after Gondophares? Gondophares had several allies and governors to help him rule. Abdigases, his nephew. Governors like Sapadana and Satavashtra. Military commanders like Aspavarman and Sasa. Eventually, the Kushans, another powerful group, defeated Gondophares' successors and took over the Indo-Parthian kingdom. Why is this important? Gondophares' story is a great example of how 1. The Parthian Empire managed invasions by nomads. 2. Families like the Shurans became powerful by protecting and expanding their regions. 3. The Indo-Parthian kingdom connected Iranian and Indian cultures, influencing trade, art and politics. 8. Imagine it like this. Think of a big empire, the Parthian Empire, being attacked by outsiders, Saka and Yueji. The king, Mithridates II, sends his best generals, the Shuran family, to protect one area, Sakistan. The generals not only defend the area, but also grow stronger and build their own kingdom, Indo-Parthian kingdom. Gondophares is like the hero of this story, leading the new kingdom and mixing cultures from Iran and India. 9. Key words to remember. 1. Saka, Indo-Scythians, nomadic invaders. 2. Sakistan, land ruled by the Saka, later defended by the Shurans. 3. Satraps, governors who managed parts of the empire. 4. Gondophares, famous king of the Indo-Parthian kingdom. Indo-Parthian kingdom, a blend of Iranian and Indian cultures. Summary 10. Gondophares and his family, the Shurans, played a key role in defending and expanding the Parthian Empire. They created a new kingdom, the Indo-Parthian kingdom, which connected different cultures. This story shows how strong families and leaders can shape history. Does this explanation make sense? Let me know if you want more details or examples. Let me explain step by step in the simplest way possible. We'll cover everything clearly, so it's easy to understand. 1. Who was Gondophares? Gondophares was a king who ruled parts of ancient Iran and India. His name became famous because of his coins, inscriptions, and stories connected to him. 2. What happened to Gondophares' name? His name didn't stay the same everywhere. Different cultures pronounced and wrote his name in their own languages. Examples. In Armenian, Gondophares was called Gastafa. From there, Western languages like English, French, and others changed it further to Gaspar or Caspar, sometimes even Gaspard or Caspar. In Hebrew, it was written as Gizbo, Gizbar. 3. Why is his name important in Western culture? There is an old Christian story about the 3 wise men, also called Magi. These Magi were said to visit baby Jesus at the time of his birth. They brought gifts like gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Connection. One of these wise men was named Gaspar, or Gondophares in older texts. The story says Gaspar was a king and treasurer from Persia, ancient Iran. This matches Gondophares' history as a king in that region. 4. How did the name become popular? Because of the biblical story, Gaspar became famous in Europe and Western cultures. Gaspar became a popular name for boys. Example, just like today, some people name their children after heroes or important figures. 5. Why do people think Gondophares was one of the Magi? Some old Christian and Eastern texts connect Gondophares with Gaspar. The idea is that Gondophares might have been inspired by stories of Jesus' birth or even involved in the actual events. Example to imagine. Think of Gondophares as a wise and wealthy king who had the resources and curiosity to travel far. People believed he might have visited baby Jesus to honor him. 6. What is the biblical connection? The Magi Wise Men story is part of Christian tradition. They were described as wise and powerful people who followed a star to find Jesus. Gaspar, one of them, was traditionally thought to come from Persia, where Gondophares ruled. 7. Key points to remember. 1. Gondophares' name changed over time and in different languages. Gastafar, Gaspar, Gaspard, Caspar, etc. 2. People in Western tradition believe Gondophares was one of the 3 wise men. Gaspar. 3. This connection made Gaspar a popular name in Europe. 8. A fun way to understand it. Imagine Gondophares like this, a wise king in a faraway land. His name changes as different people say it in their own way, like a game of telephone. One version of his name, Gaspar, becomes linked to the story of the wise men. Because of this, Gaspar becomes a famous name in the Christian world. 9. Why does this matter? It shows language and religion can mix and influence each other. Gondophares' name is a great example of how a historical king became part of a religious story. 10. Summary. Gondophares was a king. His name became Gaspar in Christian tradition. People believe Gaspar Gondophares was one of the 3 wise men who visited Jesus. This made Gaspar a famous name in Europe. Does this explanation make sense? Let me know if you'd like to explore anything further. Let's break this down step by step in the simplest way possible. By the end, you'll understand everything clearly. 1. Who is King Gondophares? Gondophares was an Indo-Parthian king who ruled in ancient times. His reign was in the region we now call India and Pakistan, with a famous city called Taxila as his capital. 2. What is the Acts of Thomas? The Acts of Thomas is a religious text, not part of the main Bible, but still important to some Christian traditions. It tells the story of St. Thomas, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus. In this story, St. Thomas travels to India to spread Christianity. 3. What's the link between Gondophares and St. Thomas? In the Acts of Thomas, there is a king named Gudnefar. Scholars believe Gudnefar is another name for Gondophares. The text says St. Thomas met Gondophares during his travels in India. Example to imagine. Picture St. Thomas as a teacher travelling far to share his knowledge. On his journey, he meets Gondophar, who is curious and listens to him. Some stories even say Gondophares became a Christian because of St. Thomas. 4. How do scholars know this? Scholars like M. Reynolds studied ancient writings and made the connection between Gudnefar and Gondophares. Richard Fry, a famous professor, also said Gondophares could be the same as Gaspar, one of the 3 wise men in Christian tradition. But what about Taxila? Taxila was Gondophares' capital city. The name Taxila comes from the ancient Sanskrit name Takshasila, meaning city of cut stone. This city is important because it's where many believe St. Thomas met Gondophares. Transformation of names. Over time, names change. For example, Gondophar is Gudnefar, Gaspar in Christian tradition, Taxila, Takasila, Egrisilla in later stories. 6. The Historia Trium Regum, History of the 3 Kings. This is a book written by John of Hildesheim in the 14th century. It tells the story of the 3 wise men who visited baby Jesus. According to this book, one of the wise men, Gaspar, was a king from India. The book links Gaspar to Gondophares. 7. Behaim's globe and the name Egrisilla. In 1492, a man named Martin Behaim made a globe. On this globe, there is a place Egrisilla, said to be where St. Thomas is buried. Scholars think Egrisilla is a version of Taxila. 8. How does this help us understand history? These stories and names help us piece together events from a long time ago. They show connections between ancient Indian history, Gondophares and Taxila, Christian tradition, St. Thomas and the wise men, European storytelling, like the historical.
9.
Key points to remember. 1. Gondophares was a king in ancient India and Pakistan. 2. The Acts of Thomas says St. Thomas met Gondophares in Taxila. 3. Over time, Gondophares' name became Gaspar, one of the 3 wise men in Christian tradition. 4. Names like Taxila and Egrisilla show how history and stories change over time. 10. Fun way to imagine it. Think of Gondophares as a famous king who had visitors from faraway lands. Imagine St. Thomas as a traveller who taught people new ideas. Their meeting became part of both Indian history and Christian stories. Let me know if you'd like more examples or clarifications.